What the actual... job?
Hello and welcome back to What the Actual Job, where I interview people about their careers so that high school students can gain a better understanding of the jobs they'd like to pursue in the future. Today's interview is with Dr. Loretta Patterson, who is a psychologist.
My name is Dr. Loretta Patterson, and I am a registered psychologist in the provinces of Ontario and New Brunswick.
What does a typical day look like for you as a psychologist?
Okay, so I am a psychologist in private practice. So what that means is that I kind of own my own business, and so my days can really vary. I do therapy and a lot of assessments, so psychoeducational assessments or psychodiagnostic assessments. And those kinds of assessments they come with a process that's very standardized and includes hours of one-to-one testing with structured kind of materials. And so if it's a day in the office where I'm doing an assessment, that would mean I'm doing one-to-one testing with a client for maybe 3 hours, and then the afternoon would be kind of analyzing that data or report writing. But if it's a clinical day where I'm meeting with clients for therapy, it would look quite different because I would probably see up to maybe 5 clients in a day and work with them on their therapeutic goals for 1-hour sessions for each person.
Nice. What do you like most about your career, and what makes you want to come to work every day?
So, I mean, I'm in a helping profession, and, I will say my experience with assessments in particular and therapy it can be a very life-changing experience for people to really understand how their brain works and how they're learning strengths and weaknesses, and to find out ways that they can have more supports and do better at their job or in school. It can be very validating for them to go through an assessment and access supports that maybe they've never had in their whole life. So that's super motivating to kind of be part of that process with them.
Yeah. And then on the other hand, what would you say is the hardest part about being a psychologist?
I would describe it as an emotional job. So, it's, I would say most psychologists feel other people's experiences and pain at times. And so sometimes it's hard to hear so much, but not always be able to help in all the ways you want to help. Sometimes it's impossible. And that can be a very emotional process. And sometimes, through this journey, say in therapy, clients will even, in their weak moments, kind of direct their pain at you. Sometimes they'll be angry with you. It can be tough to be in that position on the other side of it when you want to help so much.
Yeah, that makes sense. What would you say so far in your career has been the most valuable or significant thing you've learned?
Okay, I love this question. I would say what I've learned with working with all kinds of people, little kids or couples, adults, is that people have so much courage and are so resilient. Even when they're faced with their worst fears that they could ever imagine, they will take steps to face those fears. And it's such a beautiful thing to witness. And I think a lot of times my clients don't know, but they actually encourage me or teach me things about my own personal growth as well. And so, I think it's a career kind of lifelong learning, and it teaches you many things about yourself too.
That's really interesting, them teaching you as well as you helping them. Have you ever been shocked? That they're resilient and stuff, but wow, I'm really impressed, or that was well done and I didn't expect it to happen that quickly, or... Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. This happens a lot where you're just because you never know, you have to be kind of embrace uncertainty of every time someone comes in, even though you might meet with them weekly, it could be a new thing, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes they come in and you just almost fall out of your chair because they've made such amazing progress and things you thought would not even be realistic.
Yeah.
And yet they come in and they've done it, and it's just these beautiful moments of progress and change. And it's not always that way, but there are definitely those times where it's this amazing celebration, and a turning point for them too.
That's really great.
Yeah.
Is your career what you thought it'd be when you started, and are there any expectations that you felt turned out different from reality?
So, okay, I actually thought I wanted to be a professor. That was why
Oh.
I went to psychology. Was I wanted to, do my PhD and teach. That was my kind of dream. And then once I got into grad school, I did my first practicum, and my supervisor looked at me and he boldly said, "You're not going to be a prof. You're going to be a clinician." And
Oh.
I was, oh my goodness, how can you say that? And then as I kept going with my work under his supervision, I was like, okay, I see why he's saying this. There's just something about it that felt like the right fit. It felt kind of more natural for me. So I would say that was unexpected. That was not my goal going in. But outside of that, I can't think of anything that would be like, oh wow, this is so outside of what I expected it to be. Like no major, I don't know, surprises along the way.
That's cool. Professor's really interesting, and then switching to being a clinician, that's really interesting.
Because one is more like research and teaching, and just a different lifestyle, I think, in terms of summers would be different and all that. But it was for sure the right decision for me.
That's great. What did you do to become a psychologist in terms of education?
Okay, yes. So in Ontario, and now the province of New Brunswick as well, has switched to follow the same educational training. So you have to do an undergraduate degree in psychology, and then it is quite a competitive process, but then you apply to grad school. You have to write a standardized test, the graduate reference exam, and you have to have several references, and then you write kind of like an essay, and then once you're accepted into grad school, you do a 2-year master's program, and then the PhD program as well, which is typically 4 to 5 years.
Oh, wow.
After that, then you do an internship, a year of internship, and then a year of supervised practice. And then you go through a whole process to do an oral exam and write a couple more exams to become a fully independent registered psychologist. Yes, it's a long one.
Yeah. Was there any part of your education that you enjoyed the most?
For me, it was the clinical work. So you do, as part of the master's program, you do a practicum. I think it's 400 hours. And then at the PhD level, you do a 600-hour practicum. And then you do your internship with a full 12 months of full-time clinical work. And that part for me was always like, it's interesting to be in the class and learn the skills, but then when you get to apply them in real life, that's the most fun thing. Yeah.
That's really great. In your opinion, what would you say makes an excellent psychologist?
Okay, so there's a lot to this one, I think, actually. So I think you really have to have a strong sense of ethics. You're dealing with vulnerable people, you're dealing with highly confidential information. So I think you have to have a really strong sense of ethics and adherence to like ethical guidelines and all of that. I think you have to be someone who's very non-judgmental and just curious about why people do what they do, and really practicing not jumping to conclusions or judgments against people, but being open-minded as to wanting to learn more and understand. It's like if someone who's quite responsible or even hyper-responsible would be a good fit for the career as well, and someone who's actually a little bit anxious in a sense, because I think anxiety can be really adaptive in kind of motivating you to think ahead and prepare and be more mindful as well. So even a bit of anxiety would be a good thing in this job, I think. Also strong empathy, excellent interpersonal skills, and really kind of a willingness to commit to a life of learning, because there is so much to learn in psychology. You are always being challenged, and it's part of the job is like you do have to do extra training, professional development, and all of that. But I think as part of like learning about someone's symptom that you maybe haven't heard of before, you've got to be open to like even learning more through the process as well. Yeah.
I think the anxiety bit's really interesting, because I think lots of people find anxiety as something that holds people back instead of helping people move forward or as a helpful thing in a career. So that's really interesting.
Yes, I like that too, right? Because we kind of have a negative view upon anxiety. And don't get me wrong, it's not always a nice experience, but I do think it is actually really helpful and beneficial.
That's really interesting. How would you say you make a memorable impact?
Okay, so this is a great question. I almost want to say you'd have to ask my clients. I don't know. You ask my own, I do. I would say I try to, on a daily basis, be disciplined and sort of set an intention with myself. I'm a runner. I go for a run in the mornings, and I try to think of my day ahead and say, okay, how can I be most helpful today? I think about the people that I'm going to speak to, and I think that goes a long way. I think it means I am a little bit more prepared, and I think meeting people where they're at is also really important. You know, we, of course, as psychologists, we want to change. We want change for people. That's why they're coming to us, right?
Yeah.
But sometimes that change is slow, and sometimes I have to put my own expectations aside to meet them where they are and whatever they bring that day. And I think even that process, even though it's slow, does make a difference in the long term too. So that's the way I try to approach it.
That's really good. What advice would you give to anyone wanting to become a psychologist?
Okay, so I would say don't be scared off by the time commitment. So, you know, as I described, all the hoops you have to jump through and the time frames, and people will say, oh my gosh, like 10 years of training and then plus, you know, supervised practice and all of this. It is a lot, but I will say the process itself, you don't feel like a student as much once you get to grad school. And usually you're taking on some kind of part-time work, maybe for another psychologist or a researcher. So I would say don't let that intimidate you. Just take it one step at a time. And I would say, yeah, just kind of enjoy the process. It's exciting. You're going to be learning, and don't be scared off by that time commitment.
That's great. And then we have a few questions from students. And the first one is, do you feel like your job is threatened by AI at the moment?
What a great question, and so relevant to today. I would say absolutely not. I don't think it's a threat at all. And the reason is because I don't think anything can replace a human connection. I think it is almost like a basic human need where, yes, computers can do a lot for us, and yes, the AI is like quite advanced nowadays, but being even in person, physically, with a person who's empathetic and feeling your emotions, and you can see the details of their face, I don't think it can be replaced by digital computers. I think we will always default to wanting that connection one-on-one with people.
That's really great. I hope it continues like that.
Yeah.
That's really good. Do you see a difference between a BA for psychology or a Bachelor's of Science for psychology?
So not really. I think it would really depend on, do you want to become a prof at the end or be a researcher or more clinician? But even then, I would say, because in your undergrad, you would do a thesis. And so, you know, if your interests are more kind of science-based or more neuropsychology, say, it would be probably better to go with the Bachelor of Science degree. But either one, like the Bachelor of Arts is going to give you strong writing skills, which is really essential to be a psychologist too, writing excellent reports. So I think both are excellent, but go with whatever is more interesting to you, because your grades are probably going to be higher, and that's going to make you a more competitive applicant.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Nice. And then last one is, what made you want to go into psychology?
Okay, so, I mean, I grew up in a really small town, and I knew in high school that I wanted to do something with people, and I knew I was always sort of better one-on-one in kind of smaller groups. And it was suggested to me by a teacher once that, hey, maybe this would be something to try. And so I kind of sought out, at that time it was like modules that came in the mail, because they didn't have in my little small town a psychology course. And I tried it out, I learned about it, and at first it wasn't what I thought. Like, you learn some psychology one-on-one is, I feel like, not really an indicator of what the job is really. Like, you learn funny things like about the ear and like kind of sciencey things that and I remember kind of not being sure, but then I was like, you know what, okay, I did a bit more research and went into the program, and as you start to do kind of more of the upper level courses, it becomes more relevant. And so I think for me it was just like having that empathy from an early age, and it kind of being suggested to me, and me being curious and open-minded about it. And then, yeah.
That's really cool. Thank you very much. Thank you again to Dr. Loretta Patterson for that amazing interview about a career as a psychologist. If you want to listen to this episode or others like it, you can listen here on CKCU 93.1 FM or wherever you listen to podcasts.